Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
Morning, everyone.
Welcome to the 118th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Shannon B. Today's topic is how I've made my program part of my life. Would you please share what this means to you, Shannon, and why you're happy to discuss this here today?
Sure thing. Thanks for asking me, my friend. Yeah, how I made my program part of my life. Well, it's not just, go to treatment or do a set of steps and then we're cured. It's not a race or working towards graduating from something. It's, a daily reprieve, right? Based on the condition of my spirituality, my relationship with my higher power, and the work that I'm willing to do. So it's just doing the simple things every single day, like waking up, reminding myself that still an alcoholic, still need the help of God, still gonna fall short, right? And that's okay. But knowing I have my higher power to rely on and I don't have to do everything on my own anymore, makes life a little bit less daunting and a little bit less scary. And it's just working this program. It's almost working my life into this program, not trying to fit my recovery and like everything is based around my recovery. And the rest of it is just how I'm going to fit in those principles and all areas of my life. So, yeah, it's like a design for living, not just a set of steps and meetings here and there and like a phone call to a sponsor, right? I need God's help all day, every day. And when my character defects rear their ugly head, and they're going to, trying to remember to pause when I'm agitated, pray, meditate, help others, think less about myself. And the steps help me do that.
I love that. That's amazing. The phrase that comes to mind is practice these principles in all our affairs. To me, my life is my affairs. and I think a big thing about the steps is the program of action designed to help us have this spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening is supposed to bring us closer to our higher power, bring us the conscious contact to our higher power, right? And, I heard somebody say this, and I just think it's the best is, the literature is like the menu, but the real meal is that conscious contact, And so we're kind of like working our order with the menu, but the reality is that the real meal, the real meat and potatoes, the real feeling and experience in this program is that spiritual awakening and that conscious contact. And that only occurs for me when I'm living presently, right? Like, and so this program is trying to get me from being stuck in the past or freaking out about the future back to right now. And so it's something that for myself, it's a life or death situation for me. I was dying and now I'm living. And the only way I stay living is having this program in 100% of my life. Like there might be people who can go to one meeting a week and white knuckle it and live a miserable life. Hats off to them for whatever reason they want to stay there or not stay there. But I can't do that. That's too dangerous of a place for me. I need full application of this program in order to have some serenity and some, reasonable contentment. I would like to live joyous, happy, and free in this new fourth dimension of existence. I know I should have a rocket ship sound behind me there.
That would have capped it off. No, I like how you said that. And it truly is, right? Like practicing those principles in all of our affairs. And for listeners that aren't sure what that means, that there's a principle attached to each step and living with honesty, integrity, right? But mindedness, willingness, love, forgiveness, like list goes on. Those are all crucial components that make up our connection with our higher power, right? And to seek and do God's will, which for me is my thoughts and actions align with the life my higher power wants me to live, even when it doesn't suit me, especially when it doesn't suit me.
Well, like first of all, we are like the super self-centered beings of the universe, and of course, our will is going to conflict with the universe's will because
Well,
the universe is not putting us first, you know? And we've been putting ourselves first since the day we were born. Change me, feed me, crying as a baby, like right up until it's just like our show and we're all angry at everybody because they're not playing their parts.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, hey, excuse me, you stepped out of line. You stepped
Yeah.
out of line because you had your own ideas about today and
And
yourself.
never mind what I've said or done. Let's
I
focus on you
I
and
had
what you
big
need to do.
plans for you today.
You need to do to
Yeah.
make things work for me.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Man, it's funny. We're just sidelined for a second, but I remember being in my 20s and like I can remember being mad at some of my friends, and I'm like, when I look back now, I'm like completely mad because it was all expectations and they were not playing their part. Even though I had built up these expectations on what I thought were like justified levels of positive action towards them. But that was like people pleasing and reciprocation expectations and, like things that are just totally here. But at the time, I felt so justified in those emotions. It's just amazing how self centered I was without knowing I was self centered.
And you look back and you're like, okay, now I can see it. But in the moment, I had no clue, right? We don't
Yeah.
know what we
Yeah.
don't know.
Like,
I'm
no
not
wonder
immune
why
to
that
it.
person didn't want to hang out with me anymore. I was like an expectation laden jerk face. It's like what a burden it would have been to be around me in those moments. Really. Like I look and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that anybody was my friend. Like like when I look at it like that, like there's just so much of that going around in the world, you know? And I mean part of it is just the programming that we're taught, Like what was the statistic? Like if you watched 3.5 hours of TV a day as a kid, I think it was like you watched 15,000 commercials a year. How could you not be programmed?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, ooh, I was probably riding that ratio as a little kid. Like if I think of the morning cartoons and then the little thing at lunch because I live close to school and then afterwards, I'm like, whoa, I might have even been 20,000 commercials a year.
You were off there. Wow,
Sure.
I didn't know that stat.
I know, like, but that's a lot of programming that we have to undo. Like that is not of our making. That's of the making of somebody who wants us to not be happy with now. Like literally, advertising is for you not to be happy with right now.
Just like in social media too,
Yeah.
like and influencers
Hmm.
pushing product all the time. It's like you're not good or enough with what you have.
Yeah. And like, there's some things where I see it and I'm like, I've gone camping 1,000 times without that brand new, super amazing thing. Like, like I'm pretty sure I can survive in the bush without five more $200 inventions.
Right?
Yeah. Like I remember making a tent out of a tarp and having one of the best camping trips ever. Like, so it's kind of funny where it's at now. There's so many gizmos, like you could just gizmo your way forever. I'm on like I am not buying knickknacks. It's a no knickknack phase in my life right now.
I like
I
that.
refuse to nick or knack. Don't nick knack me. Like, I don't want them. I'm like, get them out of my life. Because it just is clutter. And it's like for someone who's been trying to kind of like declutter my life, it's like I found some stuff that I never took out of the box that I bought and never have taken out of the box and used. Like that's consumerism right there. Okie dokie. So, do you have a question for me?
What area of your life would you say you found the most challenging to adapt a new way of living?
Okay, so I would like to refer to the great resurrendering of March 2025, and that it has been a prevalent reminder in my everyday life right now that I was really good at surrendering my addiction. I was happy, like I was like, please take that. I'm going completely crazy here. But somehow I was trying to control my defects. And and so the surrendering of my defects has been has been kind of like the biggest education of this year for me, in that like I'm just obviously cognitive that I am not successful at that. Like, you know, 51 and a half years before the program, never really pulled it off, and then a good year and a half into the program, still really not too good at it. Like, it wasn't like I just got my master's in defect removal, but, you know, the more that I'm praying gratitude for their removal and for the replacements for them, like grateful for that love instead of anger, and for the faith instead of the fear and anxiety, and that, you know, the better it's getting, really. And so for me, that's kind of just the path I'm on now, is that I'm really admitting powerlessness over my defects, and that my life was unmanageable with me trying to be at the helm of them. I would say for sure. I think that's my answer to that one. What about you?
I would say replacing my fears with faith, right? Like also not trying to control outcomes, accepting people for where they are, where they're at, and loving them through it. Recently, it's really been a challenge for me in one particular situation to understand how sick this person is and pray for them rather than sit in a resentment, right? In our life, sometimes you have to just accept things and people for the way that they are, when my gut instinct would be to tell them how I really feel. And that gets into anger and isn't going to benefit myself or anybody around me. So it's practicing that resentment prayer that's on 564 and praying for that person.
Do you have that memorized?
I don't have it memorized, but I
Okay.
know. And
I
this is
just
not,
wondered if you did, for you to share with the audience right
I
now.
will. I like not word for word, but I'll tell you what I mean. What it says
Yeah.
is you pray every night for 2 weeks for that person, that they have everything that you would want for yourself, right? So it's praying for the best for them. And you continue to do it, and you'll be fascinated that with after a couple of nights, everybody's different. That resentment no longer has that chokehold on you. So if you want to have peace, love, healing, all those things in your life for yourself, you pray that God gives them to that person.
And by the way, everybody, this is a magical thing. This does work. Like the first time my sponsor got me to do it 14 months ago, it was a real life changing experience. And so anybody out there who hasn't tried it, give it a shot, because you really have nothing to lose but freedom. You
Mhm.
know.
Because I'm always authentic and honest, and this is where I'm at on this podcast.
Hmm.
I know it works, and I know I need to do it, but I'm too angry right now.
Ooh, look at that. Okay, so maybe you need to pray some gratitude for the love instead of anger that's growing in your heart.
100%. And I've been praying this week, on the
Yep.
day I'm struggling with this to lift that. And
Mm,
it's getting simpler, but we're human. And
mm,
this is doing me no good. Like having
mm.
holding on to this anger is doing me no good.
And
But I'm angry, and that's a defect, and I need to work through that by praying. I need to ask God to remove it, right? But
yeah,
I'll be fully ready for it. So yes, I've committed to doing this resentment prayer now to lift it because I know it works. It's worked in the past.
for myself, when I start doing it about someone, I literally set an alarm every morning to remind me to do it. So there's no like, oh, I just was busy, I forgot to do it today. Like I set it at a time where I know I'm in some kind of like transitory thing where I won't be completely engaged in something. So that I can pause because it really only takes a few seconds. You know, and that's how
And
that.
I hear you. And I
Yeah.
know it. It's just right now
Mm.
very, very challenging because to
Okay.
it's not the praying, it's
Mm.
the praying for good for them.
Yeah, I know because you can barely even picture their face when you think good.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's the control part of me that's like, I just wish the prayer was like I could just say a prayer for them. Like
yeah,
I pray that I don't hear from them again.
yeah,
That's
but
not a reality. Like it's just not a reality, right? So
yeah,
I have to pray for good things.
and that's part of the beauty of getting making this program part of your life is to stand up to those struggles instead of running away like we used to. It really is. Okay,
Or handling things my way and then makes it worse for
yeah, that because that
everyone.
doesn't work anymore.
Dang.
It never
Like
did before.
if only we could just get one little get out of jail free card a year to use,
Like,
Just one little treat to act in defect and be a complete
yep,
asshole, right? But just one little time to play God myself, right?
yeah. That's just a little God for you. Just a little God. Like you can have Sundays, Shannon. No.
I'll just take one day and then I can go guns blazing. And but then how sick would I be after, right?
But you know what? One day is too much, and 1,000 days never enough. I
You know me. It's true.
know. Okay, so when I made recovery part of my life, it stopped being about staying clean and started being about staying free. How
Mm,
does living the program help you experience deeper freedom, not just abstinence?
mhm. It, well, my disease doesn't have a chokehold on me anymore like it did. So just share for the audience too. But the substance is just that, right? It was the solution until it was the biggest problem for us. But it's not the root cause. I didn't just wake up one day and be addicted to alcohol, right? There's a slow progression and how that works, right? Though I was a pretty much a blackout drinker since day one. But yeah, if it was just about the substance, then I would put that down and life would be amazing. But the longer that I'm away from that substance, if I don't have a working program, I can be just as sick, if not worse. And now there's nothing to blame that on. So it's running on those defects, it's running on self-will, right? It's being miserable, or as we call a dry drunk, which is all of the characteristics of an alcoholic, but without the substance. And I've experienced that. I never want to go back to it. So that's why having this design for living, this conscious contact with God, and this working program at all times is of necessity to me. If not, I'm not going to be living free. I'll be like in a prison of self, prison of obsession, prison of, self-centered mentality, prison of victim, prison of like you name it. And we'll create a reality of that. And I don't want to be an angry person. I want to be free from misery, discomfort, happy, joyous, free. That's what it tells me. And I can't be that if I'm living up here in that sick thinking.
I love that. Gosh, I love and appreciate you, Shannon, and I really enjoy our times together on these
Thank
Saturdays.
you. Ditto.
Oh, P.S. My mother still loves you. Um,
Hi, Mom.
when I
And
made
Milan's
recover,
mom.
that's right. Shout out to both our moms because we love you guys. When I made recovery part of my life, it stopped being about staying clean and started being about staying free. So, how does living the program help me experience deeper freedom, not just abstinence? You know, I like the phrase that my level of freedom is directly proportional to my level of surrender. And for me, that first step one, the admission of powerlessness and that my life was unmanageable, gave me the first mental freedom I had had in a long, long time up here about that more, like the hamster on the wheel of more, and even when I would white knuckle it, there was always like that, when's the next time coming? Like what is going to be like, is it'll be that birthday. We can't miss that birthday. Oh, there's going to be that wedding. Oh yeah, we'll just have to come out of retirement for that. Oh, and literally though it would go on in my brain. And it wasn't until the like my surrender inside the program where that just stopped. Like, and that, like, I was really lucky because have a lot of friends who just don't get that happen to them. And, and so, that wheel is still spinning in their head. And somehow for me, that was just able to be set aside. Like that surrender's just like over there and that fight's over there. And the universe is fighting that fight instead of me right now. And that's just a blessing. And there is people that never get that level of it. Like, I mean, I was in some meetings and man, I saw some people in the last week that were like 20 something years and they still talk about their occasional struggle with it. And I was like, wow, like, I'm like, lucky me. Like, I'm not knocking their recovery. I mean, the fact that they've over 2 decades straight, that's a miracle right there. That's a miracle. But I'm so grateful for my time without that hamster wheel rolling around anymore because that was making me crazy. It was making me absolutely crazy. It took up so much of my mental part. And so, you know, um, getting back to the question about, how I experience deeper freedom, not just abstinence. Well, the surrender is kind of like all prevailing. Like the surrender is the wind that will push all that shit away, whether it's your addiction, whether it's your defects. And so, it's about learning to be present because when we're present, like a lot of our anger is built from expectations or fears, right? And both of those things are us not being here right now. Like if you just look at this moment right now in your interaction with someone, there's rarely something that you're actually mad about right now about. Like it's true. It's you're mad about a broken expectation, which isn't now, and or you're mad about your future catastrophization of things. Like you're like, whoa, I can see that this is going to become that because I've seen this 4 times in my life, but you're not here. And it's really about us getting grounded in the present moment. And I struggle with it just like anybody, but I struggle with it less. Like I am very grateful that the universe has been allowing me to become more present here over time. And it really is a freedom. Like ever since that great resurrendering in March 2025, which I think like it should now become like a biblical date time for me, you know, like BRS, before resurrendering and ARS after resurrendering. And
I
it's just,
like it.
like it's like born again at that moment because I feel in a lot of ways that it has really like a born again in my purpose, my commitment, my willingness, my understanding, and where I want to go with my program. Like I think it's increased my faith by such a magnificent tenfold, like, and it's all really due to the actual real feelings of freedom that are coming along with the program. I don't know.
Real freedom, real
Real,
freedom.
like not like, whoa, I got a new car and a full tank of gas. Yeah, but you got 10 years of car payments and gas is 165 a liter. That's not freedom.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah. So that's the end of my response. You got another question?
sure. How do we make this program part of our life? Isn't that amazing, hey? So
Hmm.
you talk about um, conscious contact, right? And practicing these principles in all our affairs. Do you find, this is going to be a direct question, do you find it challenging sometimes to show the love, tolerance, compassion, and patience that you show a struggling addict to others in your life that are not?
100%. 100%. Like I would say
Yeah.
that I would say that at this point in my recovery, I am way faster at circling back after defective behavior. Like before, there would either be no circle back, and it'd be like cut my losses from a negative experience with a loved one or a friend or somebody else, you know, or it would be a much longer time for me to make that analysis and awareness of my part in it, if I ever owned it at all. Like when I'm talking about things earlier that happened in my 20s, I need to go back and make those people amends. Like that's they never, some of them never ever got resolved. And so it's evidently still taking up space in my head if I'm thinking about it, right? And now, moments happen so fast. Moments and defects, man, defects are like a lightning bolt. It's like, it happens, and then I hear the thunder after. Like, I'm like, whoa, holy shit, did I ever just say the wrong thing? And, but now I'm way faster at circling back. Like, had some shit go on with Michelle this morning, and I've already made my amends, before this show even started. So that was like within 20 minutes of our bullshit going on. I made sure that I swept my side of the street before I came into this because I didn't want to bring this into that energy into the podcast. And so I I think that it's the hardest with loved ones and family and friends. Like that's the hardest ones to break those patterns. Why? Because it becomes like muscle memory. You do this, I respond that way. Like think about the years of semi consciousness we had inside our addiction where we were just running on fumes. It was like fight or flight all the time, fight or flight all the
Yeah.
time. And guess what? We became masters at fighting and flighting. Like we were really good at getting the fuck out of there, but saying our shit first. Like I'm sure. Like I was not there for you, but I could tell you got some fire in there. Like we've
Yeah,
had it.
like getting the heck out of there after doing a mic drop, right?
Yeah, it's just like, whoa, I said my piece. See you later. Now, why don't you just
You,
digest that for the day?
yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
because once you think about this, I know you'll come back and say sorry to me.
I didn't even, it's like I didn't even get that far. Like my satisfaction and what I needed was already there the minute that I put that person in their place according to me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
because
exhausting. And I remember I had a girlfriend before that would say to me, I understand how you feel. I used to be there too. Now it's just not worth it to me. And I
yeah,
remember thinking, I just don't get that. Like I'm just not one for rolling over on things. And she's like, it's
mhm,
not that, it's that it drains me.
yeah,
And I never saw it like that. And now today I'm like, I just don't engage. The
yeah,
one area I struggle and a resentment, obviously I mentioned, but for the most part, it's I can let things go a lot quicker and I just don't engage because
Yeah.
it's not worth the energy.
It, it's not.
It's not worth my recovery, is what I should say. And when I just said that right now, that's just put what I'm struggling with in such a great perspective. If I look at this as life or death, that if I harbor this resentment,
Mm,
this could, affect my recovery. It already is.
mm.
Then it's gotta go. So just saying that right now, I'm like, okay, now I can pray for this resentment to be removed. Such
I
an
would
aha moment
love,
live with you.
I would love not to be making having the reactions I am, but the best I can do right now is at least quickly make amends for it. And quite often, I'll honestly, I'll just remove myself from the situation for me to cool down. Because I'm like, if I can feel that my response is not going to be suitable, but I can't keep that emotion down, then I'll just walk away for a bit. I am way better. I am way better cutting off an interaction without saying, like, you can't undo words.
No.
You can't, like, I can break a cup and buy a new cup, but you can say things that people are never going to forget inside their souls. And that's the problem for me is that I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because I know how they echo inside me, and so I'm just better off to say I'm not able to respond correctly right now and just remove myself. And sometimes it's just even for 2 minutes where I just got to be like, breathe for a second,
Ooh, Sam.
take a deep breath. But
Yeah.
it happens way less. It happens way less, and that's one of the things that you know. Your defects and shortcomings are not getting removed in your time. They're getting removed in the universe's time.
For
And
sure.
but that's part of the lesson. Like that part of the lesson is called patience. And when we learn to have patience for that, maybe we can also have patience with the people that we're not having patience with.
Take me to church. I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, where do you have to answer your question, or did you answer your question?
Well, kind of I did, but I can just expand a little
Yeah,
bit more.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I do. And I have to remind myself of that. Like I repeat that, that I'm practicing these principles in all my affairs. When I'm in a judgmental headspace, though, that's not an isolated area. It'll be across the board. So when that defect rears its ugly head, it's rearing its ugly head in the rooms, it's rearing it in quite a few areas of my life. So that's when I really need to be self-aware and go, ooh, I see what's going on here. Please, God, X, Y, and Z.
X,
And
Y,
then
and Z.
I remove he's going to remove that thinking, but I have to practice the opposite, right? Which is showing compassion, listening, praying. And this is the best I can do is pray through the situation. Like if I'm hearing something that I'm just getting frustrated with, I pray for that person while they're sharing, or I pray for the people in the situation that I happen to be a part of. And that helps me a lot.
It really does.
And I don't want to live a double standard. I'm not going to be one way in meetings and another way in other areas of my life.
Exactly.
And I don't like not showing up as the way I want to be. I don't like being impatient. I don't like being judgmental. I don't like, you know, being self-centered. I don't like any of that stuff. It doesn't feel good,
Nobody thinks they're the villain.
right?
Yeah. That's one of the most important lessons somebody ever taught me. And that was by somebody with a tattoo from a Nazi death camp. Like it was a 94-year-old client of mine, and she said to me, she said, no one, she showed me her tattoo, and she said, no one thinks they're the villain. We're all a combination of our life experiences, so you have to think about what they've gone through to rationalize how they're acting right now. And they're like, if the more horrible they are, the more horrible that they went through. And that really changed it to see someone who had their family like getting gassed in the same fucking camp as them, to have that kind of compassion for other people. That was just an absolute game changer for me. I was just like, wow, like that was it was amazing. Okay, when recovery became a way of living instead of a series of tasks, I finally began to grow. What shift happened in you, Shannon, when the program became a lifestyle rather than a checklist?
For me, like my first experience in recovery, it was in year 2 that I realized this wasn't just because in your first year, sometimes you're just, not even sometimes, it's there's so many aha moments. You can't believe that you've been sober as long as you have. Things are starting to change. You know, you've got a new host of friends around you that you've met in recovery, done the steps, change in thinking, right? And there's a lot of excitement about that because you're celebrating a lot of milestones throughout that year. And then in year 2, it was like, okay, so now I have to do this thing one day at a time for the rest of my life if I want to stay living in this solution and free of, this chokehold of my addiction. So that's kind of where the rubber hit the road. But I can revert back. And then I have that gentle reminder, nope, not today, can't start trying to live in self-will today because you do that too long and it stacks up into my disease telling me I'm justified to pick up a drink.
Ooh,
Solution living, free of self. So much harder than it is to say it.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a lifestyle now for me, right? And also for me, the biggest piece is I don't live 2 separate lives. I am the same in all aspects of my life. That doesn't mean that for conversation I'm going to share my recovery like I do on this podcast because this is for that. But I don't drink to everyone that I meet. Not,
yeah.
oh, I don't really drink. Or,
Mm.
oh, I have a drink here and there. Like, because I start saying things like that, and then I'm telling my brain, you're not an alcoholic and you can drink. I've done that before.
There was
No good.
a lady who came on the podcast, and she was this other lady, Brandy. It was her sponsor, and she calls it an insurance policy. She goes to an event with friends, and if there's new friends, she makes an announcement. She says, "Hey, I'm in recovery." She's like, "I would just prefer if I wasn't offered drinks or drugs or anything, and I don't have anything against you doing that." But it's like making that announcement is like telling on herself in events, and she calls it her insurance policy for the night. And she said it's amazing how much people respect that after she does that, right? So, when recovery becomes a way of living instead of a series of tasks, I finally began to grow. What shift happened in me when the program became a lifestyle rather than a checklist? So, I remember coming out of options, and man, they load you on with the program. Like like I was like, oh, it was a busy schedule in options from dawn until night. And then you come out and you've got to like assimilate all that with your actual life that is, partly economic based for sure if you want to survive. And fitting the two together was it was stressful to begin with, to be honest. And I remember thinking, like, I remember being stressed, and like, I just don't have time to do everything here. And so, you know, it took me kind of sitting down and just seeing what was realistic for me. How, like, first of all, through experimentation, like, what do I need to do in the morning to start right? Because if I'm not starting right, the day is going to be a catastrophe from there. And it just, fortunately for me, is I'm an early riser, which, like for a lot of people who aren't, I don't know how you get up 20 minutes before work and fit a program in and go to work. Like that just couldn't happen for me. Like days where I'm rushed, I am so off center the rest of the day. And but after a while, I just kind of have made certain adjustments in my life one way or another to accommodate my program. And once that happened, it just allowed me more presence in the moments that I am working hard because I wasn't off somewhere else in my brain, either
Mm.
recovering from a party or thinking about the party or just, truly not living presently. Like the whole concept of multitasking means doing a whole bunch of things half-ass at once in my books. You know, like I can respond to things,
Yeah.
but the thing is that truly there's one thought per moment. And if I get to complete that thought, like imagine my work event is a sequence of A, B, C, D, E, right? And I start doing A and B, get interrupted so that I'm on task two, but then I come back and now I've got to look at A and B again to see where I was. Like I'm literally losing time doing loops like that if I multitask versus just going in a sequence, and that's for myself, that's something that the presence of the program has helped me to implement in my life is that when I'm on my task, I'm on my task. And if I find myself really, really distracted, then I probably need to stop, maybe pray on it, maybe just go for a walk for a second to clear my head. But just sitting there in an anxious or angry or distracted state of defective or shortcoming, I'm never moving ahead at a good rate. And so, for myself, like this program is my life right now. It's not a checklist. I don't go like, I need to do, like, I'm actively seeking what I need to learn. I'm actually, it is downright part of my life. I'm happily pissing off I'm happily pissing off other people to maintain my own structure. People are like, "Oh, this," and I'm like, "Sorry, that day and time, no chance." And before the people pleaser in me would have just sacrificed whatever for them, and it's just not happening anymore. Like part of having this as of my lifestyle is that I style my life around it, not just fit it in, you know? And I think that that's important with recovery.
Style my life around it, not just fit it in. Absolutely,
Oh,
my
yeah.
friend. I like how you explain all things on here.
Ooh, that was a good one. Hey, style my life around it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like doing my hair.
Is it my question now?
It is your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does happy, joyous, and free mean to you in your life today?
Woo. Okay. Well, you know, um, it means literally where I'm existing. It is, uh, it is, I would not say the goal of the program, but it is the result of the program. Like the goal of the program initially was for me to stay straight, but now it like I have been without compulsion and obsession about substance for so long that it is really about the way of living. It's way more about the way of living than to do with the substance ever. And and so the happy, joyous, and free, like, I mean, go into a room of recovering addicts before a meeting and hear that laughter. You know, like it's crazy. Like it was almost damaging when you first come in the program. You're like, why are you so fucking happy? Like, when you don't have those endorphins anymore, when you're first coming in, it's like startling to feel that.
Oh, yeah.
A guy was like, whoa, but then you're also like, wonder what it likes to feel like that. I would like to feel that way because that would be great. And I just I just think now, like it it's there. Like the number of times that my days are filled, you know. This guy took his cake, 35-year cake, a couple months ago that I was at, and I loved his message was, if you're experiencing reasonable contentment and you're straight, He's like, don't let anybody tell you to run a different program, you know? And, uh, and I just, reasonable contentment really, reasonable contentment is a little bit better than neutrality, you know? And that's what I would say that, like anxiety and enthusiasm are the same thing, but it becomes anxiety once you get too much enthusiasm. And so like I think that most people think happy is like yay, like, but it's not. Like happy is just like ah as well. Like happy to me is really like the 6 or 7 that serenity provides.
Mm.
Like, but some people are like, oh, serenity is a neutral thing, and it's not though, because serenity, really, that inner calm and peace, man, that's more than just breaking even in life. It's a little bit on the positive side for me. Like when I feel that, I am happy, and it is joy that like hides inside serenity. And then free is just like I am free from so many preconceptions that I used to be trapped inside of. And that for me, leads to like I'm gonna embark on another step 4 right now about beliefs. I'm kind of joining this one step working group that's starting around here, and I'm just going to kind of do an entire set of steps around my beliefs and get rid of all these things
Challenge.
that are holding me back. Like I know that there's just a lot of negative self-worth things that aren't from people and individuals. It's just like
I need,
bullying.
yeah.
And so now, well, how are you going to answer your own question, Shannon?
What does happy, joyous, and free look like to me? Well, I like what you were talking about happiness and that state of serenity, right? Because for me, I just I didn't even focus on happiness. It was more just being in a state of elation, right? As long as I was completely up here, things were good. And today, it's really the focus of joy for me, finding joy in all areas of my life, regardless of what is going on, right? So, how somebody else reacts, what situation I'm in, am I able to find that peace and stay joyful, stay in gratitude, and stay free from defects? That's what God wants. Like my inner peace shouldn't be contingent on my outward reality or someone else's experience, right? And when I stay in gratitude, I have a lot more happiness and a lot more joy. It's focusing on the good, not what I don't have. And free is like free from that bondage of self, making everything about me, being in a negative headspace, being in that like dry drunk type of mentality. I can't be that way if I'm in gratitude and looking for the little joys in life, and really like also giving myself permission to feel happiness
Mm.
and to feel joy. Because when you've been in like a state of being down on yourself or, you feel like that inner sadness, it's hard to let yourself feel things are maybe foreign to you, especially when you're coming in the program.
After years of self-sabotage, right? Allowing that joy and success for yourself instead of like, what's wrong with this? How can I wreck it? How many,
Or
I don't
this
know
won't
about
last.
you,
This
but
won't
that was,
last.
that was for sure my pattern was, right when something could have gone really awesome, I would have found a way to screw it up.
Yeah, and thinking like, oh well, this won't last, right?
Yeah. Which is like, you can obviously make anything not last.
Yeah, and feel sad about everything, right?
Yeah.
Or be that negative Nancy, and I'm not. When we don't play that anymore.
No more pity parties for this prince.
Yeah, and that was also like feelings are temporary, right? Like I can change my state of mind and that it's not necessarily a reality either. That was a huge one for me to, it's still a learning process. Like I only ever got as far as how I felt. If I felt a certain way, then that's just how it was.
Hmm.
And I can get past it. But if I felt like you had wronged me or you meant to hurt me, then that's that. Even
Yeah.
if you hadn't, like, it was like, well, that's how I feel. So how I felt was gonna control how I showed up in every aspect of my life. It's exhausting. They didn't know otherwise.
Well, without the tools to see your part, like the steps provide, right? You certainly can skew reality. I know I did. Absolutely.
And I can justify why I
Hmm.
feel that way,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know?
boy, that was a good justifier. Woo.
And when I get over it, I'll get over it. But
Or
it
not.
or not, but like I'm entitled to that, right? And it goes back to things I've shared before. It's like you drinking the poison, expecting another person to die. Oh, this person's pissed me off. So you know what? Night on the town for me. Let me just, comatose my liver here for a bit to get back at you. Let me go
Yeah.
and drink at you for how you slighted me.
Yeah.
Talk about giving people control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how much I let other people run my life.
But honestly, subconsciously, a lot of maybe not even subconsciously, it's just another excuse to drink and use,
Oh, I
right?
was an emotional amplifier in order to enable using. Yeah. I
They call
was.
me the emotional amplifier. Take
Yeah.
it too far, Tony and Tina. But it's the
Woo.
truth,
We got
right?
we
Like
got the dance.
if it's your birthday, I'm doing shots with you. If
Mhm.
it's Tuesday afternoon, I'm doing shots. If it's, if you've pissed me off or this has happened, then well, better get a drink so that I can properly analyze this, i.e., fuel myself up even more and, take it way too far. And for those listening, I don't want to brag, but I don't need the booze to act in those same defects today. I can
Yeah.
be gassed up. I know exactly who to call in my life when I am fired up. That's going to not only co-sign it, they're going to add fuel to the fire and boom, 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 tick, 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 until my mind and the only thought I hear is you are justified and your feelings and reactions. Take matters into your own hands.
Yeah.
And that kind of thinking over time says drive to a liquor store or let's get, honest here. I'm a little too bougie for that. I would just have it delivered to my house because I would want people to see me, right?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Um, for now. And then, like that's how it goes. So it's that kind of thinking
Mhm.
stacks up into, well, you know what? You really have been wronged and have a little nip, take the edge off and see you in 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years, right? Who knows?
Yeah. I
Went
love
on
that.
a little bit of a tangent there, but that's what that means.
I think that was a great tangent. Good examples. Okay, so making my program part of my life means I don't have to figure everything out alone anymore. What is the one recent decision you made with the help of recovery principles or support?
Right? It'll be currently, right? Rather than reacting and telling this person how I really feel and trying to control the outcome. It'll be talking as I have, getting outside counsel and, doing this resentment prayer. But really, it's all air, like it's everything that comes up, right? I have to ask myself, how does how should recovered Shannon show up? What does God want me to do? And fortunately, I have support systems here that help me see that mental blind spot, right? Like I know I can call you, can tell you what I'm feeling, unfiltered. You're going to hear me, but you're also going to help me so that I don't react in a way in which is going to set me back in my recovery. Or if I do, you're going to push me to step 10,
Yeah,
right? And that we need each other for that. but it's also no human power. So like I need God because there's gonna come a time, there has come times where no human power, nothing I know, no tool I have is going to come between me and picking up a substance. And in that moment, if I don't have a connection with God, all bets are off. And how do you get there? Based on things that happen and sick levels of thinking and lack of work.
I
Right.
love that.
So God be my higher power.
Yeah. Okay, making my program part of my life means I don't have to figure everything out alone anymore. What is one recent decision I made with the help of recovery principles or support? Well, you know, for me, I think a big stress for me has been cleaning up the wreckage of my past financially. And I'm still not out of the fire by any means. But there's been a couple points this year where I've really just had to surrender the timeline of that, pray gratitude for the partial rebuilding that's happening, and literally just walk away from my expectations of outcome, you know. Um, I'm grateful I still am in my house, you know, and I'm grateful that we're not homeless. Like, and those are some real, honest gratitudes. But, you know, I just think it's really easy to put an expectation on timelines, inside this program. And for me, surrendering that timeline and learning, like Shannon was talking about, the gratitude in all circumstances. And I met a lady, Laura, too, in March, right after the great resurrendering. And she really does a great job at being grateful for all the lessons that life is teaching her. And it's been a good lesson for me to be around. I've seen her in a lot of meetings and stuff. And I feel that I have gratitude for learning this from other people. Like there was no way I was grateful for the lessons that were my struggles inside addiction or earlier in my life. Really. And right now, I'm definitely doing my very best to find that gratitude, and it's really lessening the blow of the fear that comes from those expectations. Like anybody out there, like, man, just try it for a month. It's like one of those things where honestly try praying gratitude for your struggles and for the things that are the opposite. You want to learn a lot about the opposite of your defects. Talk to Shannon here, because Shannon is wonderful at pointing out the polar opposites. I remember when I was doing my step 6 and we were kind of making the list of the defects and the arrows to the other ones that were, the opposite. And Shannon's a mistress of identification of these. Like, I just remember it was like, toof, 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 toof. Anyway, you really were great at it. And it really, that was the thing that I really loved about step 6 is that you kind of, inside that, there's a real visualization of what the change can be. It's kind of like a moment of affirmations and going forward. It's like, you now have all these defects. Okay, well, let's just see what life would be like without them, you know?
God knows our defects as they know in his time, but my responsibility, my action part in that is to practice the opposite of that, right?
Mm,
So that that becomes my new norm. It's like rewiring how we think. And it's not like, oh, be patient when you're already in a patient mood. It's be patient when you're impatient, right?
yeah.
And I like what you said so much right now. And like letting go of outcomes. But it's also for me too, and you, I know, based on what you shared, is finding that happiness, that joy, and that freedom, regardless of the timeline of things. So when you're like, I'm trying to rebuild financially after decades, of being in addiction. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's removing those conditions. I'll be happy once this happens.
Mm,
I'll X, Y, and Z once I have this, because that's an addict
mm,
mentality, right?
mm.
Once I get this, then everything's gonna be great. Well, what if you don't get those things? You're gonna be miserable for the rest of your life? What if it
Mhm.
takes a little bit longer for you to get back to that financial freedom piece? Is your joy, your freedom, or yeah, your joy, your freedom, and your happiness gonna be contingent on that? So you're just gonna be miserable between now and then? That's no way to live.
It's like waves of fear and stress that it comes over, and like I would say that, I'm 2/5 through my financial battle, and I really don't care what anybody says. Like, it is a diminished stress to have that incremental difference. Like, like
1,000
like
million
like like
percent.
it's not like if I'll be happy when, but life will have less stress when. Like, it really is a different feeling when my burdens are lessened. And and it's not that I'm not happy in the other moments around there, but it's just like there's the days where it's like, whoa, am I going to be able to pay this? Is this going to happen? And all that. And then you get like 4 phone calls about something breaking there, and you don't have the money for that. And it's like, whoa, that is an overwhelming thing. And it has nothing to do with living in another moment. It's like right now. Right now, you count your pennies and you don't have enough, right? And that's a difficult place to be in. And so the gratitude in every circumstance is that's when you got to dig deep and be like, whoa, okay, I'm grateful I got a bed today. I'm grateful that there's water in my tap and that there's food in my cupboard, you know not like just going to look at basics, because that is what you do have. Like, I'm alive, I'm walking. Those are really things that it doesn't matter how much you uh, like take them for granted. You remove one of those and that's all you're going to think about today. I guarantee you get your legs taken away, you're going to think about walking for a while.
You're not gonna be focused on, I'm so glad I sold my arms. It's
Or,
going to
or
be,
like, man, thanks, I got this car. Like, like there's so many item things that we put happiness on, but like our life being in health is really our starting point, and we take that for granted the second we have it. Like I've had
if
back
you're still
surgery.
able to find joy in your day-to-day life, though you
Hmm.
have this is daunting, and it's I don't diminish it because I've been there and still working through some things around that. And I don't care what anybody says, when you have financial security, it lifts a lot of burdens.
Money doesn't make you happier. It gives you options and reduces stress in some areas of life.
It sure does.
Yeah. And
It doesn't mean that I'm going to be miserable every day until I have that completely, right? It's like you're finding still joy, gratitude, you're giving back.
I am so happy on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, it's just like waves.
Yeah.
It's like getting into an argument, right? Like I if something starts happening in an argument and it's going sideways really fast, I can't stop that wave of anger yet, but I can certainly understand very shortly that I was wrong and make an amends for it and try to step away faster next time. But it's the same with financial stress. It's like, poof, holy shit, 4 things just hit me. Guess what? I'm afraid for a minute, and that's okay. But I'm not living in that fear all day anymore, which was happening until I started trying to practice gratitude in all the circumstances. Like, really, the surrender, acceptance, and like infinite gratitude. Those are 3 things that'll change your day in like, or have changed mine. Let me speak from my perspective. They really make the day a different day.
I love that.
Hmm.
Perspective, perspective, perspective.
Perception, perspective,
Observation.
observation. Okay, where are we at now?
I'm gonna do the lightning round. I don't have any more questions for you. We
Oh,
covered a lot.
okay. So, sure, let's just, we'll round it up. We'll do 10 minutes of lightning round.
Got it.
Okay. This one's short but sweet today. I feel like this was a really good one. Okay. Um, Here we go. The
Am I
pro,
going first or you going first? I forget.
well, I thought you didn't have any more questions.
Yeah, no, but the lightning round we both answer, right?
Yeah, you're going to go first because I'm asking the question. So,
Perfect.
so you'll
Okay,
go
got
first.
it.
Yeah. The program is no longer something I visit when I'm in trouble. It's the spiritual foundation I return to daily. What daily practice reminds you, Shannon, that recovery is not just a phase, but a way of life?
Sure. Prayer and meditation, right? Continuing to make, I start by making that conscious contact with God in the morning, and I continue making that conscious contact throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I'm praying again too. And that meditation, quieting my mind, listening for the answers rather than to come up with them myself.
Woo, that was lightning. That was like 20 seconds of pure thunder. Okay, what daily practice reminds me that recovery is not just a phase, but a way of life? You know, one of the things for sure for me is I've been really having a wonderful time with one of my sponsees. We've got a list of 100 spiritual principles, and every morning we have a phone call and we talk about that one and how we can make that part of today. And and it's just that it's part of our day now, him and I, and it's amazing. And it's not a phase. This isn't like something like him and I are like, yeah, today we like basketball, next week we might like hockey. It's that we are actively trying to grow in life together. And the ever increasing amount of faith that I'm experiencing in my heart is really showing me that I'm just at the tip of the iceberg in this whole thing. Okay. Uh,
Ah,
I don't live my life and then work my program. I live my life through the principles of my program. Where in your everyday life, Shannon, do you see the steps quietly guiding your choices? Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
well, acceptance and surrender, right? Like understanding I can't control people or outcomes and showing up with what I can contribute to a situation rather than what I get out of it. You know, Minding myself that sometimes it's okay to just be quiet and, be supportive in a situation. So, yeah, the principles, they're daily practices for me, right? And like that love, patience, tolerance, like, so I mean, I love everything in life, but I can show compassion for people, right? And treating others how I want to be treated is huge for me. Just, how does God want me to be in this situation, right? Not stuck in self, not angry, not detached, not judgmental, but kind, caring, and a good person. I never regret that, but I regret the opposite.
I love that. Woo, that was a minute full of
Uh,
wisdom there.
but sorry, I forgot the number one, accountability. Live my life
Whoa,
very, very accountable.
yes, I love that. Where in my everyday life do I see the steps quietly guiding my choices? Oh my gosh, like I don't know if there's a part of my life where they're not now.
Mm.
Like I'll really feel like right from the very start of the day, you know, um, I'm trying, like even when I get up and I'm grumpy, it's like I now have enough awareness that I know I am. And I'm trying to have enough compassion for my family members that I'll just try to do something on my own. Like I'll try to recenter myself. Like I know when I'm not at that place of serenity or peace. And quite honestly, I don't want to give that away to anybody. Nobody else needs to take on the burden of my moods. And so, yeah, like I feel that almost every part of my day, I'm either acting or quickly responding to my behavior through the steps. And I hope that it continues to do so more and more. Okay, here we go. This will be the last one. So, my relationship, my decisions, and even my thoughts are shaped by what I've learned in the rooms. What part of your life today, Shannon, clearly reflects the influence of your recovery journey?
Decisions today clearly affect the influence of my recovery journey. Boom. Wow. Well, all of them, really. Like some big, some little, right? Reflect how recovered I want to be. And do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? I've said that before. So, how I do one thing is how I do everything, is what I try to remember. So, being consistent, you know, I don't get to be self centered in this area of my life and then be kind and giving and generous in another. I want to be the same person in every area of my life. When I fall short, I'm accountable, I course correct, I make amends, I don't beat myself up. I try to be of service to someone else. Like those little things every day is what shapes up to have a strong recovery. Okay, today, what's my intention? What's my goal? How am I going to show up? Right? Step 11, 10 when needed, onwards and upwards.
Woo, you could have kept going there. I was loving it. Gosh, okay. So, what part of my life today clearly reflects the influence of my recovery journey? I am always of the habit of thinking like Milan, and go what people have said around me, like through sponsorships or like friend sponsorships, like you and I are to each other. There's so much I've learned. Boy, I forgot to put the timer on. Okay, there's so much I learned just through the words and ideas of other people that it's really implemented an entirely different approach that I'm struggling with, but trying to implement in my life. Like none of this is easy. They call it a program of action, but freedom isn't free. Freedom comes with work. And that work is often uncomfortable changes in ourselves. The writer of The Untethered Soul there, Michael Singer, he really described it well. It's like your heart closes with scars that happen, and it hurts to remove the scars as well. So if there's pain in the growth of your recovery, it's because you could be opening your heart again. I'm leaving that there.
Oh, I love that, my dear friend.
Today was awesome, and Shannon, you're awesome. And
So are
I
you.
guess I'm going to see you in a couple weeks.
You got that.
And Brian, I think, will be back with us then. Brian,
Woohoo.
yeah, he's finally, I think, made it home, and he's definitely into doing it. So I think, do you have anything you want to say here at the end for anybody about your life and your program?
Thanks everyone for listening, and hopefully, you got a little nugget out of what we shared, and I look forward to our next episode together. And thank you, my friend, for just always filling me up with so much hope and gratitude and love. And I'm so blessed to be able to do this and to give back.
I love and appreciate you, and it's always a journey of philosophy together. I feel like, and it really means a lot. And for everybody out there, thank you for tuning in, and tune in next episode for more recovery fun. Bye bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.